Your black sheep are the deeply held core values that make you an original. They cannot be altered, dyed, or changed. Black sheep. So, how do we know that your values are actually your own? We're going to talk about it. Hello and welcome to Ladies Listen Up. I am your host, Gwendolyn G.R. Houston Jack, and I've been thinking about values. And I recall when I was moving towards that grand version of myself, I got to thinking about the values that I held near and dear to my heart. Are they really mine? Because some of the things that we do it because someone taught us to do it. We don't always know why, but we do it anyway. There's a friend of mine who tells a story. It's really interesting. She tells a story about how this young lady was preparing her ham for Thanksgiving and Christmas and other holidays, and that she would cut off the back end of the ham to have it lay flat in the, roaster. So one day, one of her kids asked her, like, well, why do you cut that off? What does it do? And she was like, I don't know. Like, my mother cut it off and her mother cut it off. They've always just cut it off. Well, when they got to digging as to why they cut it off, turns out the oven that her great whatever had, well, it was smaller. And so they had got this roast or whatever, and it couldn't fit. So they just chopped it down to make it fit. That was it. It wasn't like it had to, but for that purpose, because it couldn't fit in that oven, they had to use their intuition and make it work. But that one little thing has traveled down the line. And we just keep doing what someone else was doing because it's what we saw, is what we know. We never question it. We just do. Because that's how it gets done. But is it? Is it really? So when I think about people and authenticity, which is going to be a theme for us, they don't really look at their values. Like when we ask, what do you stand for? What are you about? When people think about you and your name and your brand, what does it stand for? Because some of those values that some of us hold near and dear, they're not really ours. They're somebody else's. They are someone else's values. Not all of them. Not all. There's probably a couple that are in there. Now, as a child, our parents are tasked with doing the best they can do with the tools that they have to help us make decisions in the future. Have no idea what the future is, because if they did, really? I mean, my mother and father told us, you can't get a job playing games. Get in there and study. You can't get a job playing games. Clearly, they were not aware or privy to the fact that you can now get a job playing games. It's the future. Who knew? Who would have ever thought you get a job playing video games all day, designing video games, right? But they only knew what they knew in the moment, which is why they talked about when you get out of school, then you can go to college and you can get you a fancy job and get you a good salary and blah, blah, blah. I mean, not blaming them. Not at all. It's a beautiful thing. Now, my parents were not specifically saying that you had to go to college. They were not those parents. They just believed in, we will help you do whatever you want to do. and you just make sure you have an honest way of, you know, earning a living. That's all they ask for. They didn't ask for much else. They're not like today's parents where you have to go to college. You need, yeah, they're like, no, you ain't gotta do all that. I will give them the kudos on that part. They did know that. But in my journey, I started questioning why I was doing what I was doing. And I also looked at what characteristics, what values really struck a chord in my heart. Like, I'm a nurturer. I am by nature a loner, but I am a pretty good welcome wagon. I know what you're thinking. There's no way in the world this chick who is an introvert can be a welcome wagon. Well, yes, it's there. It is there. I enjoy welcoming people. I enjoy entertaining. I enjoy people feeling comfortable and being included and giving them a space, a safe space to just be themselves. I'm a good listener too. You can talk. I'm just going to listen. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to add my 2 cents or $1 unless you ask for it. I'm just going to listen. I'm here for that. And at the exact same time, when my heart is full, I am done with people. I am done. I am over it. So it does exist. But this is the part that we got to start thinking about. Now, I was always raised that, when you go to someone's home, you do introduce yourself. You just don't walk in somebody's house and not say good morning, good evening, hello. Like, you need to. My father was clear. You walked in the house and you didn't say hello, you didn't speak. You had to go back outside the door, come back in with a better attitude, and have a salutation. Hello, everybody. Good evening. How everybody doing? Okay, all right. Yes. It's just, part of his welcome wagon, I guess. But the part that I was not happy about was being forced to attend functions I didn't want to attend. Being forced to attend those functions with people I didn't want to be around. I mean, the whole idea of telling somebody no was like, no, you have to show up, you have to be kind, you have to be cordial, you have to do all this stuff because that's what good people do. Is it really what good people do? Is it really? Like, none of this really makes me happy or does anything that I really want to do. Like, it just doesn't. So the path that we have here in becoming more authentic is that there is a chapter in your book where you must unlearn what you have learned. And it goes beyond some of the very basic things of your core values and the habits you have, although they are in there. This goes into, and forgive me for being so bold, the lies we've been told and the lies we have told ourselves and are continuing to tell ourselves. We have to unlearn what we've learned. Now, humans are worse than old dogs. You know how I say you can't teach an old dog new tricks? They say you can't. It is possible. Trust me, it's possible. Humans are worse. They are worse. Talk about creatures of habit. Humans enjoy comfort. They enjoy knowing. They enjoy being able to predict what's going to happen because they already know it. They enjoy that. So when we go back to, what did we say? Becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. This is where you now say to yourself, I am now ready to unlearn what I have learned. You know what's hard? What's hard is looking at your life and tearing it down. It's hard because you find yourself Try not to blame people for the way that life is. And truth be told, like I said, you really can't blame your parents. Can't well, ugh, it's such a sticky topic. Your parents, our parents, any parent can only do the best job with the tools they have. Now, are there some sucky parents? Yes. Have we not seen Mommy Dearest? There are. However, there comes a point as adults, maybe even like as a young adult, where you decide, I don't want to continue down this path. I don't want to keep doing what everybody says I'm supposed to do. You can rewrite that story. So the blame game is not where I want this to go. It's not where it should go. Don't do the blame game. Even for yourself, don't do the blame game. This is about looking at the habits you currently have, these stories you have told yourself over and over again, and the values you have adopted, and looking at them and saying, okay, is this part of the person that I am today? And if it's not, throw it off to the side. You call it a day, right? You are analyzing, thinking about those habits and values that don't serve you. They don't. One of mine was that being overly gracious, saying yes to everything and everyone and being there for everybody and coming in there to save the day. That's a no. Am I a nurturer? Yes. Will I listen to you? Yes. But I'm also aware that when my emotional capacity is at nil, it's a no for me. And that it's not my job to fix everything for everybody. It's not my job. And that I don't have to attend every single event just because. So, quick little side note. I like to call them sidebars. The office holiday party. I will tell you right now, I love traditions. Love traditions. There are certain things I do no matter what, same time every year. If it is the holidays, I am watching Die Hard because it is a Christmas movie. Watching both Die Hards, 1 and 2. I'm watching Scrooged. I'm watching Trading Places and The Christmas Story. There's probably a few others, but those are like always. Oh, and The Wiz. Gotta watch The Wiz. I love traditions. So, the office party, typically there's like this holiday party and everybody shows up and you do your mingling and all this other stuff because you're supposed to do it. And I will tell you that I was a manager at the time. So it was like, well, you're a manager. You should be here. That is a no. I don't mind parties. I'm just not big on parties with people that I really don't want to be around. These are work relationships. We work together, we make some money, we go home. Nowhere in that contract did it talk about us having to be friends, BFFs, even seeing each other outside this building, outside work hours. That's not the contract. So the first year I didn't go, they were like, you're not going to the party. I can't believe it. It's like, I'm not going. The second year they thought, okay, well, maybe she's really serious. Like she's not coming. I don't do the holiday party. I don't do it. Now I've done like, I think maybe 1 or 2, maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 out of the 7, 10 years I was there. It's not my thing. It's not my holiday. Not. So taking on this extra stress to show up in places that you don't want to be. Ridiculous. We're going to cut that out. So here's a couple of things I want you to ponder as we go through this list of the lies we tell ourselves and the lies that others have told us. You're too loud. You're too loud. Now, I know I'm from the South. There's nothing like Southern parents, grandparents who are like, don't be so loud. Calm down. Stop. You gotta be like a church mouse in some of these places. Because it's like, be seen, not heard. You know how far that goes? That if you continue telling people that you're too loud, that you should be seen, not heard, that when they are now at a place where they need to speak up for themselves, they may not be able to do so in a confident manner, if at all, because they've been squashed down for so long. You're too bossy. Too bossy. What is that even like? Now, I'm going to say this really quick because I've yet to hear of any of my brothers or my male cousins or any of my male counterparts being told that they're too bossy. Never heard it. If I am wrong, let me know that I'm wrong. But if I'm not mistaken, typically it is a woman who is told she's too bossy. You're too bitchy. Especially when you're in a leadership role. If you're in a leadership role, it now becomes almost, you have to almost adopt this facade of being like a mother hen. Like, you got to find your motherly vibes and cuddle people. You know what? Stop. Gwendolyn, let me stay at the task at hand. We're going to say that one for another day. You have a nasty attitude. You've got an attitude. You're attitudinal. How many times have we heard that? That the fact that the little bit of voice we do have, that we have decided to share, when we call out what is wrong or inappropriate, or if we decide to not play the role that someone has designed for us, that all of a sudden we have a nasty attitude. Because I don't want to like shuck and jive. Is that the deal? Now check it. I'm coming to you years later, looking back at situations that have happened in my life. I specifically recall a situation in high school. And everybody's taking their quiz. Some of us are cheating because numbers matter for some people. Numbers don't matter for me. So I just got the grade that I earned because I didn't want to cheat. It's not how I was raised. It's not what I do. And so when it was called out that, what? You didn't get a top grade? I can't believe you didn't get this right. I can't believe. Put me on blast pretty much. Gwendolyn said, well, I'm not like everybody else. I decided not to cheat. I got you have a nasty attitude. Do I really? Do I? Because like everybody cheating is clearly worse than me getting an honest grade. Okay, perfect. These are the lessons we learn at a very young age that stick with us. Now, I can tell you, I have heard the attitude conversation or the attitude comment a few times. I also heard, oh my God, you're so intimidating. You're so aggressive. I feel like there should be a whole nother talk about code language. I just feel that's coming on, But it is part of this conversation. Because once we hear that, enough times we start telling ourselves that story. I'm too aggressive. I'm intimidating. I'm too loud. I'm too bossy. I have a bad attitude. I got to change me because everyone else around me is doing it right. And clearly I'm in the wrong. And you start shrinking. You really do move towards that be seen, not heard. To when you show up and like, oh my gosh, she's just so shy. Like she's just kind of standoffish, She's not really one for people. She just has, she's just antisocial. People start saying those things enough to you at a young age. You absorb it because it's what you hear time and time again. So why do you think that as an adult, we would behave differently? Because we keep hearing it there too. We hear it in the workplace. We hear these things and we take on this persona that doesn't even belong to us. Doesn't belong to us, right? When we're trying to figure out who we are, you got to stop and say to yourself, what do I value? What are my habits? How do I want to be seen? And how do I want to show up? So, are you ready to do the work? All right. So, we said before, I'm going to say it probably every single time because I want people to feel really good about seeking professional help along this journey. There's no reason why we shouldn't stop and bring in someone to help us out. Now, when I was a kid and I had a tooth that was loose, we'd rock it with the tongue, get it in there. And then, of course, our parents were like, you take a string and wrap it around your tooth and then you slam the door. Whose idea was that? You know where that came from? That came from some previous time when they didn't see the dentist on a regular basis. I mean, think about it. Depending on how old you are, you did some of those things to get the wiggly tooth out your mouth. And then you put it under your, pillow for the tooth fairy. But fast forward to where we are now, going to the dentist, going to your eye doctor on a regular basis, 6 months for your cleaning. Well, for my nephews, grandkids, that's a common thing. They're not wrapping a string around their tooth and slamming the door. But I digress. So when we talk about getting help, yes, I highly suggest a professional counselor or therapist. Highly suggest it because you may need someone to help you do the work. Perfectly fine to get someone to help you do the work. Now, one of the books that I absolutely love, it's called Black Sheep. Black Sheep. Isn't it beautiful? Black Sheep. It is Unleash the Extraordinary, Awe-Inspiring, Undiscovered You. And what it really talks about are your Black Sheep values. Now, I know what you're saying. What in the world? Well, turns out, here's a little fun fact for you that if you're ever on a game show, this may come in handy. When you are a sheep herder, you know what I'm saying? You got the little herd of sheep. They put one black sheep for every 100 of the regular sheep to keep count of how many they have. And what's cool about the black sheep is that its wool can't be dyed. It is what it is through and through. You can't change it. Makes it extremely authentic. What? So I want to read to you this beautiful passage that I just love when we talk about figuring out your values and who you are and what you stand for. It says, as you chip away at finding your honest to goodness, dyed in the wool black sheep values, you come closer to your undiscovered, authentic self. You are sitting down and you're saying to yourself, what matters to me? Now, I will tell you what matters to Gwendolyn. I'm about inner peace. My inner peace, priceless. If I am in a situation that is creating chaos, I remove myself from it. I don't even allow myself to get into places where chaos could show up. Now, I'm sure you've all, maybe not all, I'm sure a few of us, when we are invited to a party, our first question is, who's all over there? We need to know because if there's a certain somebody there, I'm not going. I'm not going. I need to know. My inner peace is priceless. I'm about inner peace. I'm about well being, not about being thin. It's not about wearing certain clothes. It's about overall 100% well being. Am I healthy in my heart? Am I healthy in my mind? Am I healthy emotionally? Am I healthy financially? Look at all the things about well being. Let's meditate. Let's stretch. Let's run. Let's go see the financial advisor. Let's live within our means. I'm about well being. I'm about being inclusive. My family is beautiful. My family is stretched across all kinds of waters, ethnicities, ages, because there's some age gaps in there, sexual orientation. We are crossing all the boxes, all the boxes. Love it. It's beautiful. But I want every person who comes into my presence to feel included. You don't have to think like me. You don't even have to look like me. You don't have to be in the same age range, financial bracket, career. It doesn't matter. When you're in this space, I want you to feel included. I want you to feel it, right? Not just me saying it, but you feel it. You're like, you know what? I feel at home here. These people are actually kind of cool. Inclusion, that matters to me. And with that inclusion comes a safe space. A safe space for what? People to be their authentic selves. Now, there's an asterisk, but this is where your values come in. You can't come into the safe space with hate. Now, I'm all about inclusion, right? I'm about grace and mercy. I'm about authenticity. But that safe space, there's no room for hate. No room for hate. That doesn't work for me, right? You are free to be who you want to be, but that right there can't be here. It's got to, that goes that way. Now, granted, if that's the kind of person you are, we would have felt that out in the whole energy realm, and that probably wouldn't even be the case, but you have to note these things. So Black Sheep Core Values, I highly recommend you guys read it. There's a beautiful exercise to help you really define what you value and stand for. And the second thing I want to suggest is getting a journal. The written word is powerful, very powerful tool. And when you start writing down your thoughts as you're going through this journey of change, you're going to be quite surprised and impressed with yourself to see the growth. And the person who needs to see the growth and appreciate it, wrap their arms around it, that person is you. That person is you. The only person who needs to recognize and applaud your progress is going to be you. So I leave you with this. Give yourself the space and grace to grow and learn.